Okay, I'll leave that
Cool.
up to you. Thank
All
you.
right. Morning. You have a lot to do, so I'm going to try and be as succinct as possible, get to the point so that you move on to your next thing. Our program to our second time to Japan with Citrus College. We're very excited to send you to Kyoto for a month this summer from June 28th to July 27th. But before we get to the nitty-gritty of the program, the itinerary, and what to expect when you're there, I just want to make sure that you've all logged onto your AIFS portal, right? So you go to aifscustomize.com, and in the right-hand corner over there with the sort of yellowish arrow, you have your login, right? Have you all logged into the AIFS portal? You're all shaking your hands, yeah? That's where you pay your bills. So we're assuming that you probably all are, because I think you're pretty much all paid in full. But you have looked at your to-do list and uploaded your passport, right? That's really important that you do that. You cannot check into your housing until you get that done. So we need you all to do that immediately, like by the end of the weekend. Everyone has a passport, I'm going to assume, right? Anyone doesn't have a passport, they're still waiting for theirs to arrive? No? Oh, that's really good. That's really good news. So please scan or take a very clear image of your passport and upload it to the AIFS portal by the end of the weekend. So that's to do by tomorrow. And then there's a really good section called the Program Document section. In there you can find a handbook that our staff from London and Japan have prepared for you to get you ready for the program. That is a 25-page, more or less, PDF that has a lot of the information we're going to go over today. It's all explained in very clearly. So that is a great thing for you to read through after today's presentation. Pass it on to parents that couldn't be here today. It's got important contact information there, as well as procedure and things to do, things not to do. So it helps ease parents' anxiety, okay? So as an AIFS student parent, myself, my son went to Costa Rica with Citrus last year, 2 years ago now. It eases parents' anxiety to know exactly where you are and what you're doing and how to get in contact with the program people if in case of emergency. So please do that. That's really important. Just to give you a little information about the city you're going to, it's the old imperial capital. John's going to help me since he's our Japan expert to give you a little bit more about Kyoto itself.
Yeah, and feel free to jump in. You were there not that long ago. I was there last summer with the students. I used to live in Japan. Been to Kyoto many times. So you'll visit the old imperial. These are places we'll visit, right?
Yes. So this street in the Gion section, I believe, is very close to your housing. So it's like walking distance. So
yes.
Right?
Yeah. You're right in the center, right by the Gion area. You'll see like temples where you are in a short walking distance. So yeah, it's very small. You can walk around. You can walk to the station. Tourist friendly. There's UNESCO sites all over the place. And yes, as I'm sure you guys are familiar with Kyoto already since we've been talking about it and you've been researching. But it's the old capital of Japan before Tokyo.
Yeah, and a lot of it is still preserved because it was saved from
Right. Yeah.
during World War II.
It's one of the few cities in Japan that was not decimated by aerial bombing, right? So it's unique because it has a lot of old historical buildings and the old Japanese culture is very alive there, and you'll see that in they even have geishas there, of course. So you'll witness that, and there's nowhere else in Japan like Kyoto.
Cool, great. All right, this is one of the highlights, all right, the Kinkakuji, the Golden Pavilion. One of the must-sees of Kyoto was on your itinerary, so you'll be visiting that with your class. We are going to start with departure day right away, right? So your departure day is June 28th. 36 of you are on the group flight. The rest of you are traveling on your own. The group flight departs on the 28th. Any of you departing on a different date that have booked your own flights? A couple of you are going earlier, right? So you will be departing from LAX approximately, probably? Okay. So we're going to go a little bit over the specifics of departing from LAX. There's probably a few of you that never traveled international before. I know when I did study abroad when I was a junior in college, it was the first time I ever got on an airplane. Nonetheless, the first time I ever left home and went to Europe. So it was really scary. I was all by myself. So we wanted to give you some information so you know what to expect. There's also, you can YouTube any videos. They have videos for everything now. So if you'd like to YouTube, flying out of LAX, I bet you can find a video of someone, telling you the ins and the outs. But LAX is partially under construction. They're redoing many of the terminals, so you have to expect gridlock traffic, right? Especially it's summer season, it's high travel season, so you have to plan to get there really early, minimum of 3 hours. I'm not originally from the LA area. I am originally from New York, spent a lot of time in Europe, and when I moved back to LA, they said, get ready for the traffic, and I thought, it can't be that bad. And then I tried to go to LAX, and I was like, this is what they're talking about. So you have to be there 3 hours early, so you have to plan appropriately. People in the group flight, it departs at 2 p.m. So you want to be there at 11 a.m., which means maybe you better leave at, 3 a.m. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. But you do need to watch, Google Maps or Waze or something so that you know what the traffic situation is like. Of course, you're entering from that side, and you have to go to Terminal B, the Tom Bradley International. So you have to go through half of the airport to get to your terminal. There are 2 parking lots right in front of the terminal, so you can park in 3 or 4 parents. And you will then, remember, international flights board an hour prior to departure. So really you just have 2 hours to get to your gate. All right, so make sure that you have a copy of your e-tickets, right? We say tickets, but they really don't print airline tickets anymore, but you will be sent about 10 days prior to departure, those of you on the group flight, a copy of the e-ticket printed. Take that with you in your carry-on. Make sure you don't pack your passport in your luggage, you have it on you. And then if you are traveling on your own, the arrival directions to your accommodations that Jessica will send you, we're going to go over that in a few slides. Have your carry-on bag with you, your personal item, and your checked luggage. We're going to go over those restrictions in a few minutes. In your carry-on bag, always pack a spare set of clothing. I always travel as if they were going to lose my luggage. Nowadays with technology, it's highly unlikely that your luggage get lost, but I've been doing study abroad since the 80s, and I remember times when I had a group of 30 students and 25 would lose their luggage. And it's always good to travel as if they were going to lose your luggage. So I make sure I pack something to sleep in my carry-on. I pack a full change of clothing to wear on the first day on campus. If your luggage were to be lost, it's the airline's responsibility to find it and get it to you to your accommodations, right? So if that were to happen on arrival in Japan, in Kyoto, or Kansai,
It's direct, right?
Right, it's direct. So you would fill out a lost luggage claim and give them your address, and they would then make sure they got it to you at your final destination. Doesn't happen often, but it's good to be prepared. Also in your carry-on, make sure you have any medications that you need or might need, like allergy medication. It's good to have a little cold and flu. It's good to have any medications that you take on a regular basis. Make sure you pack them in your carry-on, okay? We'll discuss medication and prescriptions in a few minutes. So that's basically what LAX looks like. And then once you get in the terminal, you'll start by checking in at the airline desk. Those of you on the group flight, because you're booked as a group, you're not allowed to check in online prior to the flight. You check in at the desk. And so if we look at this little map here, down at the bottom, these are the airline desks right here. So you would find Japan Airlines and present your passport. That's generally all you need, but you have that printed copy of your e-ticket just in case, and you'll check in. Once you're all checked in, you'll proceed to TSA screening. So that is in the back of the airline desk section, and you go up the escalator. It's on the mezzanine, and you'll go through security. Security is a hassle, right? Everybody has to be checked just to make sure that no one's trying to get anything on the plane that is unsafe. So you'll have to go through, put your things through the scanner, right? The X-ray scanner. That means you'll have to take off your shoes probably. You'll have to remove any electronics larger than a phone and put them in their own bins. And you'll have to remove any sweaters or jackets, okay? And run them through the X-ray. Then you yourself will either go through a metal detector or another kind of this hyper scanner that looks like you're getting an MRI in a second, but you'll have to go through that, and then you can pick up your things. Make sure you have everything. I lost my ID once in one of those because I forgot to put it away properly, and make sure when you get through the scanner that you pick up all your belongings and you put them all back, okay? That with travel is the worst thing. You're nervous, you're trying to get through lines, so take your time, right? But make sure you put everything back and you store everything properly. That's important. Once you go through screening and you figure about half hour through screening, approximately half hour, 40 minutes, it depends again on the crowd, then you pick up all your things and you find your gate, right? So when you checked in with the airline, they indicated which gate you'll be departing from, so that's where you'll go, and that's where you'll meet everyone else traveling on the group flight. I can't remember if your faculty is traveling on the group flight or not. Neither are. Okay. So, but I mean, you can do it. We have groups do it all the time without their faculty, right? And make it to their country successfully, and you guys will too. Okay? Any questions about this? No? Okay. All right. Any
Well, do we talk about arrival?
Yes, that's next.
Oh, okay.
Right? So just to go over again the information for the group flights, Japan Airlines departing LAX at 2 p.m. That's funny, shouldn't have the flight number up here. But the flight itinerary is on the AFS portal. You can find it printed there with a list of the 36 students on there. Your ticket confirmation and your luggage tags will be mailed to you in a UPS envelope about 10 days prior to departure. It comes from our Connecticut office. Those of you who booked your own flights, you will be getting luggage tags by UPS. All right. All right. I think that's it.
Yeah, when you arrive in Kansai.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you go
That's
into
us.
it.
No, go ahead.
But I just want to say, like last time we got held up because some students said they were students to the customs agents.
Oh, yeah.
So don't say you're students.
Right.
Because then they think you're going to like a university or a Japanese school. You're coming with our faculty taking our classes.
Right.
So you are a tourist,
right.
not a student. So don't
right.
say student.
Right. Technically, and this is with all of our programs that are customized, you are traveling to the country as a tourist. Unless you were, like John said, enrolling in a local university and had a student visa, the immigration will consider you then a student. So it's you need to tell them that you're tourists, okay? So once you arrive at the airport, the Kansai airport in Japan, which is the next afternoon at, sorry, I have to look back, at 6:30 p.m. Once you pick up your luggage, report any lost luggage if that were the case. You'll be printed out a report. It's good to save that and hand it to AFS staff that would be meeting you at the Kansai airport. Again, this is for students on the group transfer, on the group flight. Owned travel students who book their own flight would not be met at the airport. You have to make your way to your accommodations on your own. More information on the next slide. Once you arrive, you'll get your Kyoto travel pass to allow you to use the local transportation, and your welcome packs. Staff will be there to check you into the hotel, answer any questions, make sure that you're all settled in. Again, just to repeat, Jessica's really, it says, can't emphasize how important this is. Make sure that your passport image has been uploaded to the AIFS portal. It's necessary for check-in to your accommodation, okay? Yes?
I just have a question. So I went on Google to check like the distance between the airport and like the Kyoto place that we're going.
Right.
And it said like by bus or I can transfer by train.
Right.
one. It was like 100 yen, like $1. Is that true?
I
That doesn't
don't
sound
know.
right.
Yeah, I wanted to make sure. How much does it usually cost?
It would probably be like, I would imagine 1,000 yen or 2,000, so $220.
Got it. Okay.
Do you know about that?
I thought it was a little higher. I was
It might
looking
be
at that the other day. And it of course depends on what you're taking, what type of train or bus. But when I was looking, I was anticipating that I was spending about $30 American.
Got it. So I was like $1?
Yeah, that would be phenomenal.
Yeah, okay.
Slingshot.
That doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
So for those of you not on the group flight, when you know your itinerary, which you should because we're a little, we're about a month out now or 27 days out, you should have your flight booked to know your itinerary. It's really important that you email it to Jessica. Jessica Lees is our program manager who works out of our London office. I believe she'll be in Kyoto when you're there. Yeah. But she is the one that's going to make sure that someone is at your accommodations when you get there. But we can't have that happen unless you communicate with us and let us know when you're arriving. So all of you not on the group flight, it's important that you have to do that by the end of the weekend as well. Email Jessica and either forward her a copy of your itinerary or give her your complete itinerary with flights, departure, and arrival times. That's very important. She will then be tracking flights and will know when to expect you. Make sure that someone is at your accommodations with keys to let you in. She'll give you clear directions from the airport to your housing. She recommends essentially airport train to Kyoto and then a taxi to your accommodations. Did not give me a price, so I don't know. But check-in technically begins at 3 p.m., but if you arrive earlier, you can store your luggage at the accommodations, go get something to eat, come back, and we can check you in starting at 3. All right? Technically, the reception closes at 5 p.m., so if you're arriving after 5 p.m., we have to, again, make sure that someone is there in reception waiting for you. So communication is key, okay? People who've done their own flights, raise your hands. All of you have emailed Jessica already with your itineraries and gotten an answer back? Yes? So you're good? No nerves or anything? Everybody feels confident? Yeah, all right. So our Japan students are the best. It's not like those Spain kids. They're trouble. So, yeah, we watched their videos yesterday. They're trouble. You will have AIFS staff that Jessica from London, who has spent a lot of time in Japan, I think she lived there for 3 years, and then has been running our groups since there. She'll be there for partial, if not all of the time, but you will have local staff. So you'll have local Japanese program people, coordinators who will be there to run the program the entire time. They will be on call 24/7 in case anyone needs any emergency assistance, you're not feeling well, or something happens and you need someone to help you with an issue, they'll be on call. They also give great advice, right? They'll be around on a daily basis in the school or in your housing, and if you have any questions or need some ideas, they'll be there to give you that ideas, right? I believe in your itinerary, you're going to get their information prior to departure. Orientation will be on June 30th, right? So your first full day in Kyoto. You will have an orientation with the local staff and with Jessica to go over your itinerary, to go over local travel, how to travel, how to use buses, how to use the JR trains. Etiquette in Japan is very important, so they will go over what to do, what not to do when you're there. Cultural differences as well, and John is going to help me out because John lived in Japan for many, many years, so he's going to help me out in a few slides. Safety and security, which is also a priority. That morning, we'll meet in the lobby at a designated time to travel to your program classroom where we'll hold the meeting, and so you'll need your travel pass on that first morning. That afternoon, I think you have a welcome meal, and then that afternoon you have a walking tour of the historic district. Okay. Week 1 schedule looks approximately like this. You'll have class, those of you in film appreciation will have class from 9 to 12:20, and those of you in history will have 1:30 to 5 p.m. Oh, your welcome meal on that evening, so sorry about that. Tuesday the 2nd, you'll have class, the 3rd, And then on the 4th, you will have no class, but we have the Zen meditation activity that's being planned. Friday the 5th, a free day, as well as the first free weekend. So as far as your accommodations, you will be in 3 guest houses in Kyoto. The group will be split into 3 mini groups, and you will be assigned rooms there. You'll be in twins, and I believe we have 1 triple that was requested by 3 people. She wants me to emphasize that they are small, and you can see how small they are. They're really small. We call them apartments, guest houses, but they're small kind of hotel rooms. That's kind of how you have to think about it, where you have, but they have everything pretty much that you need. So you'll have your kitchenettes, your washing machine in your closets, computers provided, bath and shower, hair dryers provided, TV, table, and towels, sheets, blankets are provided. They also have AC, which is important in Kyoto in the summer. It's quite hot, so that's really nice. The guest houses are a 20-minute walk apart, and you'll be in twin or triple bedded rooms. Then 20 minutes by public transportation, 30-minute walk from what I understand to the study center. So some students prefer to walk, some prefer to take the bus, and it's a direct bus. I think it's a couple stops from what I understand. It's really central location, which is fantastic. You're close to everything. So that's really nice. There you have a photo of your bathroom. So they're small but functional, and the bathroom can be converted into a drying room for clothes. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
They have
A
They
dehumidifier?
have like a little string that you pull out and attach, and you hang your clothes.
Okay.
And then there's some buttons that you press,
To dehumidify?
and it heats up the whole room.
Ah.
So it dries the clothes faster. If you put them outside, they might get funky because it's so humid, like the water.
It's like Florida.
Yeah. So
Moldy.
So you can put them in that shower room. That's probably
Okay.
a good option.
The shower room is a wet room, right? The shower head connects to both the bath and the shower. Very common in Japan. Also has a tricked out toilet, which from what I hear is the
Toilet
best.
technology is crazy.
Yeah.
We're behind.
You'll never be the same. Be back here and you're like, I can't do it. I have to go back to Japan to poop.
Yeah.
How's that?
Yes. There's buttons to have fun with those buttons.
I can see you all spending all your time in the
There's
bathroom.
A dryer. Some really fancy ones have like a scent button. Warm seats.
Scents?
It'll put out like a.
Oh, that's
or,
awesome.
Yeah.
So there you have a mini fridge, freezer. You have a hot plate, microwave, right? You've seen the apartments, so you.
Yeah.
You're better.
It's I think there's like just 2 burners, and yeah, a little kitchen area so you can cook. You can't bake.
Right.
But other
No
than that,
cookies.
It's fine.
All right, so again, she wants me to emphasize, she's told me 20 times that living space in Japan is small. You have to expect small. Closet space is small, so bringing lots and lots of luggage will be difficult. It's also difficult to transport luggage, so you need to pack light. It's typical in Japan to have a rolling rack to hang your clothing up, so not all have closets. You might have a rolling rack in the room. Reception in the guest houses is open from 9 to 5. Students really liked them, right? The staff in the guest house, yeah.
They got along, so be friendly to the staff. I think
They took care of our
they took care of
kids,
everything,
yeah.
and they were joking around with them and having fun.
Great. If you need to buy bus passes, transfer luggage, train passes, that kind of thing, they can help you in reception. Be extra careful about being noisy. So there might have been noise complaints with our students, which is something common with groups, but be be quiet. Try and be quiet, or keep noise down to a minimum when you're in your rooms. So roommate requests, and I know you're going to do a whole roommate thing after we're done now, but if you would like to request roommates after this meeting, we can do that, no problems. Our one rule is that you must request one another, right? So you have to mutually send emails requesting one another to Jessica at jlees@aifs.co.uk. That's really important. And then any students that don't request roommates, we would pair you up the best we can according to the information you gave us in your AFS enrollment form. Okay? Did we do this? Okay, we did this. That's strange. Here you have a photo of your classroom building, the Miyako Meisei. This is an international center, so you will find some classroom spaces. You'll also have other amenities like restaurants, vending machines, lockers, photocopies. You have Wi-Fi there in the common areas, not in the classrooms. But you have a traditional handicraft museum there. On the ground floor. It's a very convenient location as well, really close to all the must-sees in Kyoto. Across the street is a convenience store, Starbucks, so it's well situated. So the majority of the first 3 weeks, your classroom will be here. The last week, you're switching to a location very close to there. This is the photo of the bus stop, very close, just near the Miyako Meisei. Yeah.
Will our living quarters have Wi-Fi or internet?
Yes, they do. Sorry. Yes, they do. I think it was on the slide, but yeah, they do. It's just in the classroom building that you have it in the common area, not in the classroom itself. But I think that the faculty has a hotspot, and so in the classroom, so they're able to use. So you can, use it for your classroom needs, but not the students in the classroom. It is a 20 to 30 minute walk or direct bus, right?
Yeah. And if you can rent a bike, it's a nice bike ride as well.
Okay. And the last week of classes, you will switch to the Kyoto International Community House. And also not far, I think it's a 10-minute walk from the first site to this one. But your staff will help you guys make sure that you know where your classes are. This has cafe, Wi-Fi, library, cultural activities and exchanges. All right. Just to give you that information and these addresses. On July 18th, you'll have your full-day excursion to Nara, which is one of the must-sees around Kyoto as well, with some of the oldest wooden structures in the world, one of the largest Buddha statues in the world, right? And the park is full of wild deer that like to eat maps, from what I understand. Yes?
So is this our train fund? We're going to pay for train, or is it?
No, all the transportation is included to Nara, and your entrance, your guide is included. Lunch would not be included, no meal. Okay, I think if you have to use your own pass, then AIFS loads money onto it or something like that. I'm not sure how they'll do it, but your local staff will let you know. Okay. The optional weekend to Hiroshima, 24 of you signed up for it. Unfortunately, it's currently closed. We have no more room on the excursion, so hopefully all of you that wanted to go are signed up. It's July 12th through the 14th. And you will have transport to Hiroshima, guided tour of the Peace Memorial and Park. The second day you'll have the Miyajima day trip and return to Kyoto on the 14th. Hotel is included, breakfast is included, and I think a meal or two are included as well. I can't remember, I'm going on memory. Just to give you a little cultural information about Japanese food, John is going to help me with that too.
Okay. Well, Japanese food is absolutely wonderful. There's lots of delicious things that you will eat. You have, I think we're pretty familiar with Japanese food here. You know, sushi and you have ramen, different kind of soups. That's okonomiyaki in the right corner. That weird thing.
This one?
The snotty thing in the middle of the bottom.
Which one? This.
That's natto, which is more common in Kanto, in Tokyo area than Kansai. I don't think Kansai people like natto that much. They might not encounter that. I love it actually. It's really good for you. But it smells
What is
like
it, a
meat.
legume?
It's fermented soybeans.
Okay.
But yeah, there's a lot of fish in Japan, obviously. So don't be afraid to eat tons of fish. It's delicious. Don't be afraid to try new things. We did have a lot of complaints from students who were vegan or had strict dietary requirements because, in Japan they don't. You can explain that you don't eat meat, but they don't really. It's not the same understanding that we have. So you can't expect them to change for you because you can't expect them to change their culture for you. So you kind of have to work within their culture. So don't get angry if there's something that is not the way you expect it to be, because you have to adapt to their culture. Okay. So do you have anything to add to that?
I guess I would just say that if you have dietary restrictions, start doing your research now.
Yes.
So that you're a little bit prepared about what things they already have that are available to you. If you get there and you're looking at a menu and you're trying to figure it out then, it gets frustrating.
Yeah.
So if you know that there are certain things that really will work well with your restrictions, then make sure you know what those are so that you can look for them and ask for them. And that helps a lot. Again, it's sort of that idea of working within the culture. But a little bit of preparation saves you a lot on the other side.
Yeah, if you're doing fish, and if you just don't eat meat, you do the fish thing, it's pretty easy. But the vegan thing is hard, and maybe like gluten free is kind of hard there. So you really have to plan for those.
Okay. This is you again.
Oh, okay. Well, I mean, the thing to know about streets is that this is a pedestrian culture, which is completely different than our car culture. So there's a lot of people on the street. You're going to be walking around a lot, so start walking around now if you're not getting in shape. Speaking of walking around, we've mentioned this multiple times, it's going to be extremely humid. You're going to have to get used to it. Even it's worse than Tokyo in Kyoto and Osaka. And I thought I could wear jeans when I was there last summer, and I couldn't. You can't even wear jeans during the day. It was way too hot for jeans. So you need shorts, you need cool clothes, you need to hydrate. There's vending machines everywhere. You can get water or tea, green tea, and get ice cream too. There'll be vending machines for ice cream. That'll cool you down, make you feel a lot better. Be careful that we had a student. He started to get heat stroke, I think, because it was so humid and wasn't drinking enough water.
Yeah.
So be conscious of that. Be sure to stay hydrated. Yes.
Should we even bring pants at all?
Yeah, you can bring pants. It'll be at night. It cools off, and I think last summer was really hot, hotter than usual. It was also wetter than usual. It rained a lot last summer.
How often?
It rained. It's like a tropical kind of rain where it just comes through real heavy and then it goes away. That kind of thing, like a Hawaii kind of rain. So bring. You can buy an umbrella there. You might want to bring a portable one. A lot of students suggested having a daytime umbrella because the sun is so intense in the heat that you'll see a lot of Japanese people carrying around them to block the sun because you're in the street so much. So think about that. Get ready for that. And what else do I need to say about
Crowds.
Crowds?
Yeah. How crowded it is on.
It's crowded. There's a lot. So in the summer it's actually low tourist season because of the heat. So it's not as crowded as other times of the year. However, there still will be a lot of people.
Especially on public transportation.
Public
People
transportation.
pack into buses.
Avoid rush hour. It's the same rush hour that we have here. Just avoid that on a train. I think maybe Osaka's. I know Tokyo's ridiculous. It's like you're on a I don't know what, like you're cattle on a car. So that's rush hour. So avoid that. But I think Kyoto's fine. It doesn't really have a rush hour. The buses will be crowded with tourists. But it's manageable. It'll just be different. bad. Anything else to add?
Then we have all this, right? So
Oh yeah. Okay, cultural differences. There's a lot of them, but it's up to you to, in any country really, you just kind of observe what's happening and mimic that, right? When in Rome, do as the Romans do. So the big thing in Japan that you'll encounter is the shoes. You got to be careful of the shoe game out there. So you will probably, I believe they request that you don't use your shoes in the apartments. So at the entrance, there's usually like a little raised area, and you take off your shoes. You can use slippers, or you can walk around without slippers. What's confusing is restaurants, right? So you go to restaurants, some of them is fine, you wear shoes. Other izakayas, where you sit down. Like ramen, you keep your shoes on. But restaurants, you often take off your shoes, especially fancy places.
I was advised not to wear anything with laces,
Well,
and that it can happen anywhere that you will be asked to take your shoes off. Like, for example,
Temples.
dressing rooms.
Yes.
If you go to try on clothes,
Yes.
you take off your shoes before you go into the dressing room to change clothes.
Right. Yeah, they'll bring you like
slippers.
another pair of shoes to put on in the dressing room.
Okay.
Sometimes.
So,
So you be aware of what's going on with the shoes. Because they will be like, whoa, what's going on? You shouldn't be. That's the thing, they'll say something to you.
And I was going to say, even, like, one of my questions was, so if you're wearing sandals.
Yeah.
So I was told,
Well, okay.
slip on shoes and socks and
Yeah.
be prepared.
There's not a lot of people in flip flops usually. They have some kind of sock on with the sandal. However, when you go to a restaurant, there's usually slippers. So you'll see again like a raised area. Maybe it'll be like a shoe locker where you put your shoes. Sometimes they have a key, and then you have your shoes off. Other ones you walk in, it's okay to have your shoes on. But then there's another area where you're seated that isn't a shoe zone. So you're in a restaurant, but you go to a table, and again a raised area, and then you'll see slippers, and you take off your shoes to get into that seated area. Here's the tricky part. Maybe like the drink bar is over here, right? So last year I saw students, they didn't have their shoes on, and then they walked with their socks over to the drink bar, that's like Japanese people are. Because you're getting the dirt from the drink bar shoe zone into the non-shoe zone. So you're supposed to put on your slippers and go over to the drink bar, come back, take off your slippers, go back to the no shoe zone. So be aware of the shoe thing. That's different. They're not gonna get so angry. They might just remind you like, oh, this is no shoes here or something like that. They might throw up one of these. So the shoe thing. Be aware of that. The other big thing is
Bare feet is dirty, right?
bare feet. There's not a lot of bare feet inside.
Yeah.
You're in your apartment, whatever, it's fine, but not at a restaurant.
Right.
You might even, temples. A lot of temples will have no shoes.
Yeah.
So I think when you go to the Imperial Palace, I think that's a no shoe zone as well. And again, you get slippers. Sometimes they give you little baggies to put over your shoes. Anyway, you'll learn. It's not as complicated. And the other big thing is on the train. You're not supposed to eat on the train. They were pretty strict with manners on the train. There's a lot of older people in Japan. They live forever. There's a lot of them, and they're very traditional, and they want things quiet. So on the train, there's not you can talk to each other, but you can't be shouting. And it's really bad to talk on your phone. You know what I mean? And I think that's it. Don't stand by the entrances. And there's special areas for old people, but I don't want to freak you out. This is just things you'll realize when you're there. So just a heads up. And again, I don't want to get angry at you, but yeah, don't be too loud. Don't eat on the train. You're not even really supposed to drink. It's okay to have some water. Yeah, that's it for the train. Language. Crowds and walking is fine. Language, I hope you learned some Japanese. I think it's necessary in any country to learn. Just, excuse me, hello, please, thank you. Do you speak English? Maybe things like that. So, I mean, there's so many resources there. I hope you're learning some basic Japanese. Attitudes. I don't know what to say about attitudes. Well, it's a different. We focus on the individual here. There's a group attitude there. It's something to observe. It's very different than our own. Do you have anything to add to that?
My experience when I traveled in Japan was that the people were absolutely wonderful.
Yes.
Everything, they want to guide you so that you don't make those mistakes. So there will be really clear image signs letting you know, don't pop on your phone here or don't do these things. But it is important to have sort of those transitional words. And I have to say, just sort of watching the group chat, I'm so impressed with how many of you are already writing in hiragana and firing away in Japanese. It's a really cool part of going on this trip that there's so many of you who've done so much already in terms of studying Japanese and being ready to go. So we'll work together, we'll help each other. You do have staff that'll be really good at helping you navigate some of those things. But I really, in terms of sort of the cautioning, it's more about just understanding the culture you're going into. And I don't think there's anybody in Japan who's determined to drive you away by scolding you. They really want you to understand and appreciate their culture. So they will be really generous. That was my experience.
And there's people there, they want to help you. Like, there's a lot of retired people that might just come up to you and be like, hello, can I help you? So don't be afraid. It's not, there's not the kind of level of danger there that we have here with strangers. You know what I mean? We still use common sense, but people will come up to you and maybe ask you questions or something. A lot of older people, they want to practice English. Maybe they'll be like, where are you from? So don't be afraid of that. Etiquette, I don't think, again, just observe what's going on. Nothing real serious with that I can think of at the moment.
The shoe thing is kind of that,
Shoe
right?
thing.
Yeah.
That's the thing to be aware of.
Okay.
You're only supposed to tip there, right?
Oh yeah, no tip, thank you. Yeah, no tipping at all. They will be so confused. If you tip and you leave, they'll chase you down. Like,
To give you your change back.
Yeah.
Aw.
So no tipping at all. Don't do it. I know it feels weird, but forget about it.
Cool. So you will all be given your travel pass upon arrival. You had a question about before? Okay, go ahead.
What's the deal with tattoos? I hear different things.
Okay, thank you. That's a good point. Okay, tattoos. It's becoming more common in Japan, but traditionally tattoos were only for yakuza, gangsters in Japan. So if people see a tattoo, they'll think you're a gangster.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
You're a
So
crip.
they'll think you're shady. But nowadays, it doesn't matter, especially young people that have tattoos. Where it does matter is if you go to a public bath or an onsen. So if you go to an onsen, you're either going to have to find a Yakuza onsen, where the mafia goes to. I don't know if I should advise that. Those do exist. Or maybe, I don't know if there's it's going to be hard, because for the onsen, they don't want to see tattoos in the onsen. I'm sorry. Yes?
I think there's some onsen that are not cheap.
Yeah.
You could probably get away with it, but
Yeah.
you gotta use a lot of discretion.
Maybe if there's more of a really touristy onsen.
There's some of those
Yeah.
from
But if you go to a real traditional one, then they might ask you to leave.
You had a question over there, yeah.
It's like a hot spring.
It's a hot spring. So you don't know what an onsen is. It's amazing. There's underneath Japan there's a lot of lava or something, or thermal energy, and it eats the water, and they believe it has all these health benefits. So Japanese people are constantly going to the onsen. The onsen has a lot of etiquette, actually. I don't know if I want to get into that now. I would watch a YouTube video about it. It's weird. You're completely naked. You're soaking in the bath. It's a great thing to do if you be brave. do it. It's really unique.
Would that be
And they
like,
have, what's that?
would that be like an ideal thing to do, like because the weather's gonna be so hot and stuff?
That's a good point. It's gonna be weird because it's so hot. Maybe you can do it at night. There's Roten Burrow, which is an outside onsen. So, and it's just kind of the quintessential Japanese thing where Zen design, very simple, very relaxing. It's a really healthy, relaxing, great thing to do. We don't have, maybe we have some things like that here. It's really unique. If you can look into it and find a good place, I would go for it at night. It's cool.
We're good?
Yes.
I want So your pass will be given to you upon arrival, right? So it will be preloaded with 10,000 yen, which is about $100. It can be recharged if you need more money on it, or if you have a balance left at the end, it can be refunded. It's valid on subways, JR lines, buses, day trip travel from Kyoto. You can also use it in shops, convenience stores, vending machines, but sometimes biking, walking, or a one-day bus pass will be a better option for travel depending on where you're going. So that's why you have your AFS staff and your guest house staff. They can advise you on the best way to get to wherever you want to go. Definitely consult with them. I saw a hand go up over around here. Questions?
So this pass mostly used to go to the classrooms, because I know you guys said there's a bus to.
Yeah.
Is this more for the classrooms?
Yes.
Travel outside?
Yes.
You can travel outside.
You can also travel outside for it. So it would be basically travel to field trips, excursions, stuff that you're doing in Kyoto and to class.
And is this like a month worth, or is it just?
It's a month worth, from what I understand.
Even on the weekends, not weekends?
Well, no, it's not for independent travel. It's for program needed travel, right?
So
to
the
class.
amount that they're providing is the amount
Right.
that will cover the cost to go on the bus from your accommodation to the classroom.
And to any field trip or excursion that you had.
But you
But-
can load it with money and use it however you want.
Right, but if you're using it for independent travel, then you might run out. For an AF excursion, you have to load it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? So it's up to you to manage it, essentially. Yeah. Question back there?
I know people use a lot of bikes out there, but what about skateboards? Do you guys see people out there with skateboards?
I mean, it's not as common as here, but it is popular.
But you can use them like on the street as long as you're not interfering with like.
You gotta find a parking lot or something, because there's just people everywhere, and you know, there's stones in the streets and stuff.
And then as for the like, what do you know about the JR pass? The actual like.
Well, that one's complicated because you can get so many different kinds of JR passes.
Like the nationwide one, would that be like a good one to get if you're gonna plan to go from like city to city?
It depends because you know you can get like a week or a longer period,
Yeah,
You
it's
get
like
different
7,
zones.
14, 21.
and so if you're staying, if you're in the program, you kind of don't have time to be like to really utilize it. I think you got to be going a lot of places, right?
Yeah.
So yes.
Well, like, for example, I bought like a 2-week one for that, and if you buy them here, they're cheaper. So, like, I guess you can now buy the JR Pass. They're at some train stations, certain ones in Japan, for the foreigners, but they're cheaper for foreigners. So if you buy them here, they FedEx them to you and whatever. I bought like a 2-week one because we're flying out of Tokyo. So I know I'm gonna go to Tokyo at least once. And that, I looked up, I Googled and found out that's about $200 on the bullet train or whatever. So the 2-week, JR Pass is $400. So if we go to Tokyo for a day or an overnight in between, or someplace else in Japan, we're pretty much breaking even,
That's good.
was my reasoning.
The
So
other,
if you just kind of Google around and kind of check it out,
Plan out your trip.
you'll get some estimates on how much the bullet train.
So that would be better because it's probably not as much to go from Kyoto to Osaka, right? Because they're closer to each other.
No.
no, you
And you could get a regional for that one.
yeah, you can get a cheaper ticket for that. Not funny. The trains are kind of expensive in Japan. Yes.
On one of the websites for the JR passes, there's actually like a calculator you in where you're, what trains you're based, or what locations you're going to be going to and from, and it will calculate how much it would be without the pass, and how much you're saving or how much more you would need to utilize it to break even or save.
What site is that on?
I
The other
they
good-
have it on the JR site. Yeah.
Just the official jr.co.jp.
Just type in calculator.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure if you type in calculator.
The other good thing about that JR pass is you can use it on local trains too. So if you go to Tokyo, you can use the JR lines there.
Yeah.
So. That's good.
Okay. We generally, as a program, we often want to warn you about using bikes and skateboards, things like that, because you're kind of operating in a system of, a driving system that's completely foreign to you with different sets of rules. So you have to be really, really careful. I generally never recommend that students bike or use any kind of vehicle, right? Anything with wheels is considered a vehicle, and it can be dangerous, and we just don't want you to get injured. All right. One option, which is not included in the program, but we'll go over it when you get there. But the Kyoto one-day bus pass is a good option, especially if you're doing sightseeing independently in Kyoto. It's about 600 yen, which is approximately $6, and it's for all-day travel on buses. So that's a good option if you want to explore the historic districts on your own. Here, there's a good map, so you want to get one of these. I believe in our welcome pack we'll provide one, but it's a good idea to start maybe doing some research. You guys are almost done with classes, so you have a good 15 days prior to departure to start to look at the system map and understand it, at least locate your stops. As far as packing, remember, generally, you need to check with your airlines as far as what the luggage allowances are. Generally, it's one checked bag for a maximum of 50 pounds, one carry-on, one personal item. So definitely check and make sure how much your allowance you have, especially if you booked your own flight. But bringing one 50-pound bag is going to be difficult for transport in Japan. The lighter you pack, the better. We had somebody who was asking a question.
Do you know the packing for the group flight? Because I thought I was looking online and I thought it said 2.
You won't be able to store or transport 2 bags. Definitely one bag, maximum 50 pounds. And even a 50-pound one bag is a lot of clothes to bring. Remember, you have washing machines. Remember, you have a drying rack. I wouldn't bring more than you need for a week, right? About. Because otherwise it's going to be difficult for you to store and to transport, right?
Yeah, and I think people did a lot of shopping last year.
Yeah.
The thing about shopping too is you get tax-free
Yeah.
as a visitor
Yeah.
with your
Yeah.
passport.
But
buy
if
a certain amount.
you bring 2 50-pound suitcases, you'll have nowhere to put it in your
Yeah.
room. Okay? Medication, it's really important that you bring, if you take any medication over the counter or prescription on a regular basis, it's important that you bring enough for the entire duration of the program. If you need to have a conversation with your doctor and explain that you'll be away for 4 weeks, it's important that you do that and you go prepared. It's also really important to note that you will be traveling a whole day. It's a 16-hour time 16-hour time difference, 11-hour flights, and that your body, needs time to adjust. So it is normal not to feel exactly like yourself for the first few days, the first week that you're there. Your body needs time to adjust. So I've sometimes seen students who needed to take a little extra medication until their body adjusted. So it's good to maybe bring a little extra, have that kind of conversation with your doctor about what you should do if this happens. And also note that not all medications are legal in Japan, and that some ADD, ADHD medications are not legal in Japan, so you should Google it and inform yourself. Yes?
For medication, is it okay to have the pharmacy that has your name on it, or would you have to have an actual doctor's prescription?
I think with just your prescription bottle, you're fine.
Yeah, don't take your medication out of your
Prescription bottle.
Keep it in there.
Right. keep it in your prescription bottle. That's enough. Yeah. Yeah.
Are we able to bring like the little packets of Tylenol or?
Yes. Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah, that's
All right. Now, as far as we know that marijuana is legal in California for recreational use, it is not in Japan. It's considered a legal substance. CBD is not a legal substance, so do not bring it. Do not take it while you're there. It is illegal. And taking illegal substances while you're, we have to follow the rules of the country. And so taking those illegal substances in Japan will violate program rules. You would be removed from the program. Okay? Make sure that you bring clothing you can wear, can layer, wash easily. John had a lot of really good suggestions about really light, cool clothing. Bring some rain gear, comfortable shoes. It's really important to bring comfortable shoes, not those $4 Old Navy flip-flops that will, you'll walk yourself into a tendonitis or into, bone spurs and things like that, which are terribly painful. Make sure that you have good shoes that are supported, and it sounds like you need socks wherever you go, so be careful of that. Laptop, tablet for work. Your faculty are going to go over course requirements, and definitely pack light, right? You need room for souvenirs. You may have to carry your luggage upstairs and around. There's no porter service, right? When your luggage lands at Kansai, you're the one responsible for picking it up off the carousel and taking it to the group bus. No one will do it for you. So if you can't pick up your luggage, you better take some stuff out, okay? And then always make sure that your stuff is insured. Your laptop, your phone, make sure it's got some kind of insurance. If it's lost or stolen, it's a godsend. I know that my son did the citrus program in Costa Rica. First week, iPhones pickpocketed. Now, it's a very safe country. It doesn't happen very much in Japan, but you could lose it and it could never be found. So it's good to make sure that your stuff is insured, especially if you have an expensive item. Climate and stuff like that, it's going to be hot. And probably with the humidity, the feel like is probably up into the 100, right?
Yeah, I don't know what to compare it with in this country. People say Florida, but I haven't been to Florida, so I don't know. Have you been to Florida?
I have in August, and it's miserable.
I have, it's hot.
Yes.
Sorry,
No, go ahead.
I checked the temperature like yesterday, and Florida and Japan have the exact same humidity level.
Oh, so it is like Florida.
I'm bringing some hydration packet things that you can
Oh.
put in water.
Is it salt?
It's kind of like Pedialyte,
Yeah.
but it tastes a lot better. You can get it on Amazon.
That's
I
smart.
think the kind that I'm getting is yogurt drop. I've tasted it. It's not bad. You can add it to water or juice or something, and it's supposed to multiply your hydration. So
They have vending machines everywhere too, so
yeah,
you can get all kinds of kind of like
Yeah.
savory things.
Yeah.
yeah.
It's a real thing. I mean, I worked in Spain with students for a long time in Spanish summers. And we were in one city which had a very dry climate like we have here. And then we went to Seville, which is very humid with the river there. And I have students drop like flies,
Just passing out.
passing out. So you really need to pace yourself, go slow, don't overdo it, especially with alcohol,
Yeah.
right? Alcohol, what does alcohol do to you? It dehydrates you, right? So if you are drinking so much, you're dehydrating yourself, you're trying to rehydrate yourself later after it's too late, and that ends up with a hospital stay where you're getting, rehydrated with an IV. So be very careful about that. That's linked to our health and safety, so we'll talk about that in a second. Things you don't need to bring: no bed linens, no pillows, no towels. They're all provided, so you don't have to pack those. Don't bring clothes you might wear, right? This is not a fashion program in Milan, people. It's okay. No, really. Those people, we expect them to look like Project One Ray. You don't have to. You can wear the same thing over and over, no judgments, right? We were all students once where we wore the same 2 pairs of jeans. I think when I was in Spain for the year, I had 3 pairs of jeans. And I wore the same 3 pairs of jeans for a year. I threw them out when I was done with my thing. But, it's fine. It's fine. no heavy or expensive items, no jewelry that cannot be replaced, especially if it's sentimental, family. Leave it home, right? No one has to, no judgment. You don't need it. Don't need to bring flat irons or hair dryers. Hair dryers provided for you. Flat irons probably won't work when you're in Japan. We're going to go over power in a second. Sizing is for shoes and clothes is limited. Slippers are provided at your accommodation, so that's nice. Right. As far as power, the voltage is different. So in the U.S. we have 110 voltage. In Japan it's 100, so it's less. The plugs are the same, but the voltage will be different. So items that have, and I'll get to you in just a second, items that have built-in converters, such as your laptops, your phones, your digital cameras, those, your tablets, those are fine. They have built-in converters. You can plug them in. They'll be fine. Things that don't have built-in converters, such as flat irons, hair dryers, they won't work. Okay, so you could buy an external converter, but they're heavy, they're expensive, it's not worth it. So it's going to be so humid anyway, there's probably not a flat iron in the world that will work. You know? So let's go au natural, frizzy, and get some good hair bands. That's what I would do. Yeah, you had a question.
Oh, for the plugs, you might need an adapter.
You do not need an adapter.
No, but 3 prongs.
Oh, for 3 prongs, it's possible. I would imagine that you would have a little more.
Yeah, it's 3 prong.
Yeah.
For laptops and things,
So
maybe.
You don't connect the 3 prong to this, and then it has 2 prongs.
Yeah.
Like a little cheap adapter.
Yeah.
You got a 3 prong plug.
What I understand is that power strips don't work. Don't do the power strip thing. The students have tried that, and that doesn't work. So you would need a little plug adapter for the 3 prong to the 2. Okay, you can get those on Amazon. Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay. As far as mail, really, you're not there long enough to receive mail, so generally we don't recommend you receiving any mail unless it's an emergency. You would check with the guest house in Kyoto, let them know that you're expecting something if that were the case. Make sure that you have the correct address and give it correctly to your parents. If your parents do send a care package, like we said, we really don't advise you to do that, but make sure that it's declared under $50 worth of value and marked used or personal goods. If not, it will be stopped by customs and you will have to pay heavy customs fees, taxes, and things like that. There are certain things that will not get through, such as medication, cosmetics, and food stuff. Will not be accepted into Japan. Okay? Quickly, staying in touch. I mean, calling home is not advised as far as using a phone, right? Wi-Fi is the best. So downloading apps like WhatsApp, Viber, Skype, FaceTime, anything that goes through the internet, that is what you need to do, okay? So parents, if you don't have these apps, you need to download them as well so that they can call you, you can call them. You can buy a Japanese cell phone or a SIM card on arrival. Our staff will give you advice and help. If you decide to buy a SIM card, your phone needs to be unlocked and it could only be used for data. All right, and it has to be a 3G phone. You can rent phones, but not pay as you go. There's not buying one of those cheap burner phones. Those are not available. You could rent a phone though if you needed, but you would have a Japanese cell phone number, and phone calls from your parents to them would be expensive. So that's probably not. What you want to do is use to call home voice or video chat with one of those apps. If you can either turn off your data and avoid a huge bill by using only Wi-Fi to Wi-Fi, or consider getting an international plan. So any T-Mobile people here? T-Mobile, yay. So you guys get unlimited data, unlimited, right? You see the air quotes, unlimited data. I wouldn't stream while I'm not on a Wi-Fi, right? But you could use your data while you're out to, use a map or look up a website, check your email, that kind of thing. That's fine. But I wouldn't stream or download while I'm not connected to a Wi-Fi. And you also get unlimited texting, which is nice. Go ahead, John, sorry.
Just one thing, bring an extra battery. You can buy those battery packs for your cell phone because you'll be taking pictures, looking things up. and your battery will drain so quickly.
Ah,
Bring an
that's
extra
smart.
battery pack. Yeah, it'll come in handy big time. Yes.
So I wanted to like get a pocket Wi-Fi thing. Will I have time to pick it up at the airport on the way? Because that's what like the recommended.
Really?
At the airport?
Yeah, because you could either do that or you could like mail it to your.
Does it take a long time to do?
If we probably, it probably wouldn't, because once you started to do it, then everybody else would, and we wouldn't be able to hold the bus, and we have to get to Kyoto on time, so we wouldn't. If you're on your own, that's fine. Do you have you're on the group flight? We probably wouldn't be able to wait. That would be my guess. Because it wouldn't be just you. Then it'd be, oh, I want to do it too. I want to do it too, and then we'd be there for hours, and it wouldn't be possible. So if you can have it sent to you prior to whatever, that's a better thing. If you don't have T-Mobile, consider getting an international plan. We do want you to be reachable. In other words, if you're turning off your phone and your data and you're putting your phone in airplane mode, if something were to happen and we needed to verify your safety, where your location, things like that, and we couldn't get a hold of you, it would be a problem for us. So we don't want you to turn off your Wi-Fi all the time. We want you to be reachable. So consider getting an international plan. AT&T, you can get basic, limited amount of data for the month. It's not super expensive, and you can use it in case of emergency. All right, your parents probably support that. I know I do. Yeah, so that's staying in touch. Wi-Fi in your accommodations, as well as in the main area of the student center. Expect that it be slower than what you're used to at home. Remember that you have a 16-hour time difference. So you're going to have to work out a schedule with your roommates about calling home. And, if you're FaceTiming in the middle of the night, your roommate is trying to sleep, that's going to be an inconvenience. I'm sure that's a scenario you're going to go over now.
Yeah, and I would advise you to bring earplugs also,
Yeah.
just in case your roommate is a snorer. Those are really good.
Yeah.
Bring some earplugs.
Earphones? Yeah. Okay. As far as money, you're going to get used to a new system of money, the yen. Definitely important that you communicate with your bank and you set a travel advisory. So you go online and let your bank know that you will be traveling in Japan from the 28th until the 27th of July. If you decide to travel to other countries where you'll probably need to use your card, you'll also have to let your bank know. You need 2 ways to access funds. Debit cards would probably be your primary way, especially when you need cash. And I know that Japan is very much a cash society, so
Now you can use credit cards.
You can use credit cards more and more, but you always want to have some cash in case of emergency, or there's some small shop that doesn't accept electronic payment. So you definitely need your debit card. Your credit card would be your backup plan, right? A way to pay for things if your debit card stopped working for some reason. That's why we set the travel advisory, right? So that our bank doesn't shut down our card because they think that it's fraudulent activity. U.S. banks are hypersensitive about that, and at the drop of a pin, they will shut down a card. So you need to have a plan B just in case. If you don't have a credit card, and I see some hands going up, and I'll get you. If you don't have a credit card, a travel money card, which is a good option. Those are Visa has them, MasterCard has them. You can buy them, I think, in Walmart, and you can upload funds to it. So it's got some fees associated with it, but it is a good option if you don't have a credit card. And parents can load funds on it if needed as well. So that's what we used to call traveler's checks. They don't exist anymore. They're travel money cards, okay? You, it says euros, sorry. You should bring some yens in cash. That's always advisable to have some yen before you go, just in case there's an issue when you first get there with your card, especially if you're traveling on your own. You can order those from your bank or from some of the malls have currency exchange booths. I know that the Ontario mall has one. I don't know if there's anything closer. I think in Fullerton there's one in the La Brea Mall. have some of that. You can check the exchange rate on xe.com. It's approximately 100 yen is $1. There's limited foreign ATMs around the city, but convenience stores are good options for foreign ATMs, right? Or ATMs that accept foreign cards.
You want to give a normal.
I'll raise your hands. I'll go ladies first over here, and then I'll get to you. Okay.
What would you recommend would be a good amount of money to take with you for the month?
The month.
It depends on how much traveling you're going to do.
It would be anywhere from 500
we
to
had
a
a
grand.
yeah.
What you're buying.
Yeah.
How much you're going out.
Yeah.
500 would be the lower amount, and a grand
Yeah.
would be the
Yeah.
higher amount.
I once made a recommendation, and the student went out the first day and spent $300 on street art, and then got mad at me because I told him only $500. So it depends on you. If you're gonna go crazy, you know.
There's a lot of shopping out there, so I know students spent a lot of money on clothes. It's like a giant mall, that country.
I also and I know that they charge extra or like they charge double for meats and fruits like at a grocery store.
They charge double?
Or more, like it's
If you use a
more
credit card?
expensive. No.
Oh, you mean
I
just
was
the
a
cost?
little-
Yeah, it's different, right? So it's an island, so if you're buying things that aren't made on that island, it's gonna be more expensive. Like avocados, right? Those are gonna be expensive. But other things are pretty similar. I think food at the grocery store is higher cost than it is here. But if you buy Japanese food at the grocery store, it's cheaper. But if you're trying to eat like the food we eat here in Japan, it's gonna be more expensive. Yes.
Marcy Morris is there right now, and
Yeah.
she spent like $2 on a lime. Yeah, but her Tom Collins with a wedge of lime in it was also $2. So
You know, that's kind of a good point because you'll find the food at the convenience store is really cheap. So actually going out to eat is very inexpensive compared to Los Angeles. And the convenience stores it's not like a convenience store here. The convenience stores there, they have all kinds of healthy, delicious food, like steamed salmon and stuff. It's crazy. And onigiri and it's really great cheap food there. So if you're cooking and using the convenience store, it won't be too much more than cooking and eating out here.
Go ahead. He had a
Yeah,
question.
just 2 questions. So, I'm guessing we should bring bulk of our money in a debit card with our bank, and then bring like a good amount in Japanese yen, right? Like there'll be enough time, like opportunities, just like to get easily cash.
Yeah, I mean $100
Okay.
in yen.
All right. And then how much you would recommend like bringing just for like food? How much do you think we'll spend on just food for the whole trip?
That's so hard.
It's a really hard thing to judge, just because a lot of it depends on the choices that you're making.
Yeah.
So if you decide, like, for example, if we go to Nara, if you're going to eat out, that might cost something different than if you pack your own lunch. And what John was saying about the convenience stores is really true. You can get really good food. I always joke that the first time I went, I was visiting a former student, and our first dinner was from a 7-Eleven, and I thought, oh my gosh, like I'm so on the student trip. But really, I was the first one to say, hey, let's go back to that 7-Eleven and get some more. That was really good. And so you can, when I traveled, I was surprised how inexpensive the food was. I had budgeted much more than I ended up spending. But it really is the choices you make. So when you're anticipating what you're going to spend, the things in my experience that eat through people's cash are the shopping trips. And like, shopping at H&M, which makes no sense to me. We've got it here. But it's those kinds of things where I want to spend their money on a T-shirt that they wanted there that they could get here. The other thing that students spend a lot of money on is the going out at night. And so if you are careful with that, then you really can do a really fun budget trip. But it's the choices that you're making and where you're prioritizing how you spend things. We will be doing excursions for the classes. A lot of them are covered as part of the academic fund. There will be some places that aren't, where there might be what would be the equivalent of a $3 or $4 entrance fee to go into a temple. For me, it's really a shame when a student has done their big shopping trip at H&M and then can't get into a site that I think is really fantastic to see and that you can't see once you get back here. As much as we can as faculty, we'll let you know what the costs are ahead of time so that you're aware, but again, it's really a matter of the choices that you're making and where you're spending your money. You have a lot of control over your budget. So.
Yeah, maybe look into some cheap Japanese recipes. So there's really cheap things like Japanese curry. You buy this brick of squares, and you cook it with thin slices of meat and carrots and potatoes. You put it on white rice. Rice is cheap, and that meal is really cheap. That's a lot of Japanese people eat that. Or yakisoba is that noodle dish with vegetables in there, and again thin slices of pork. So you eat that kind of style. It's cheap, right? But again, you're eating our style. It's going to be more if you're buying like steak. That's going to be way more.
Or you're going out to McDonald's or fast food and stuff. Questions? Okay.
How early on into the trip are we having a cooking class? Because I think that would help.
It
early
is
on.
in the document. Well, you probably only make one meal, right? Not a lot of different meals, but it will help a little. It is in the itinerary. It's the second week.
Watch some videos about cooking.
Are you're going to pass out the itinerary?
I have my syllabus. I entered
Oh,
those kinds of
okay,
things.
sorry. On the document library in the AFS portal is the provisional itinerary. If you haven't looked at it already.
July 9th and 11th.
July 9th. Question over here.
So the travel money card, it's accepted almost everywhere?
Yeah, it works like a debit card.
Okay, would it make sense to like put half of your money in yen and then half of it as that card?
No, not necessarily. You will get a worse rate here in the U.S. for yen than you will when you get to Japan. So I don't think it's a good idea to buy so much yen right now. Just a little bit, especially if you're traveling on your own. If you're traveling on the group flight, you could probably get away, and I was going to say this this is my personal opinion, not the opinion of AIFS, that you could probably get away with just finding an ATM as soon as you get to the airport. Right?
Yeah, and because you'll get on the bus and you'll be at your accommodation, and then you could go
Yeah.
to the convenience store
Yeah.
and get money.
What-
Which is what I did when I went.
Yeah.
But then I couldn't. We had to wait to get in the accommodation, and I
Right.
couldn't buy drinks from the
Right.
exchange.
Right.
Had to borrow money.
Right. So
It's bad.
if I were sending my kid on his own flight there, I would want him to have a little yen just in case. And I would also want to have all of my bank phone numbers in case for some reason you got there and your debit card wasn't working. Then you need to call your bank as soon as possible. And banks are open 24/7, right? You can always make sure you have your bank phone numbers. Yeah.
So are you recommending that it's better to exchange the currency once we get to Kyoto?
Yes. You'll get a better rate for yen in the country than you will here in the U.S.
Yeah, just withdraw it from the bank. Don't exchange it.
Yeah. Okay. Any other money questions? We're almost done, and I know you have a lot to do, and I'm like 20
Sorry, I
minutes
have so
over.
many questions.
That's okay.
I heard about the bullet train to go to Tokyo. If someone wants to go to Tokyo, I know it's about $200 to do that. Is that going to be like a one-time thing, or is it like you buy a pass and let you go there multiple times in a week? How does that work?
There are both.
That's the JR pass. Is the multiple
Oh, is it?
times a week thing.
Okay.
If you get it one way, then yeah, it's like $100 and $100 back. So $200 round trip.
Yeah, there are like 5-day passes that you could get, but I don't know what the restrictions are. In other words, how long you have to use those 5 days, that kind of thing. It's a lot of research you have to do online.
Okay.
And it's cool. You don't need to make any reservations. You can just show up and like jump on.
Oh, that's
the train.
nice.
Awesome.
Can't do that in Europe. Go ahead.
How many students have actually flew to Tokyo?
Somebody did that last time. I would not recommend it unless it's a big saving. Because the thing about Tokyo, you can fly into Haneda, but do not fly into Narita. Because Narita is like 2 hours away from Tokyo, and it's going to cost money to get to Tokyo. So the nice thing about the train, the bullet train, you're right in Tokyo Station or Shinjuku Station. If you fly in, you're in these airports that are like kind of far away. Yes.
Question.
Is there any apps like that you recommend getting,
You know what? For transportation,
like everything? Yeah. 'cause
Google
I-
Maps is really good. There's
Yeah, I've heard that one.
because Google Maps will like show you the stations and the level. Because some of these stations are multi-level, 10 different lines It's crazy, especially in Tokyo. And Google Maps will break it down for you. So I would just use Google Maps. They'll have the train times and everything. Yes.
I was gonna say Google Maps is nice because you have the option of downloading it, so you can look at it. on your phone.
Update, right?
Oh, cool.
Right.
There's another app that did that too. I already downloaded like the city, and so you could use it if you don't have.
Smart.
Like it's called Maps.me.
Right.
Okay. Good advice.
I've had students use that in Havana where there's no Wi-Fi anywhere, and it works. Yeah.
Download the whole country.
Yeah. Our staff will help you guys with local travel and things like that when you're there. That'll be part of your orientation. So I'm going to skip along because I know you have a lot more to do. Health and insurance. So definitely, again, we cannot emphasize enough. If you take medications, allergies, whatever, bring enough for the entire trip plus a little extra. We have wonderful comprehensive medical insurance that will cover any health care that you need while you're there. So if you're not feeling well and you need to see a doctor, speak up, right? Go see a doctor, get the right kind of meds, and you'll start to feel better a lot sooner. I've had students nurse colds, coughs, fevers, things like that on their own, and they've been miserable. Just go approach staff. They will help you and get you to a doctor so you get the right meds. We have great doctors that we have connections with because we have local staff that speak English, and you can trust them and you can trust our staff. We cannot read your minds, right? So if you are not telling us what you need, we're going to assume that everything's good. And we find that happens a lot. Students in their little group, tend to complain a lot and not, instead of coming to the people that can help you, you tend to just want to vent with a bunch of people that can't help you. So it's even parents at home, right? And parents, I'm going to say this to you, if your child or your student is complaining to you, say, there's nothing I can do, reach out to the people there. That's why we sent you with a program. You have local people that can help you. So please refer them back to us, and we will help them, okay? That's why we're there. We want to. It's horrible to us when we get calls from parents, right? Helicopter parents, hello? Me too. So I can say that, right? So make them do it on their own. It's a good lesson. Okay, safety and security. So definitely on your to-do list is to enroll with STEP. STEP is the Smart Traveler Enrollment Program run by the U.S. Department of State. When you enroll there, you need your passport information, you need your travel itinerary, you need your housing information. You need to upload all of that information onto that portal. If there were any kind of incident in Japan, our government would know where the citizens are. So it just makes everything so much easier. So please enroll in STEP. Photocopy a copy of your passport. Leave it at home. Make another photocopy and have it carry it with you when you're tooling around and exploring on your own in Kyoto. We don't want you to take your original around with you, just your photocopy and your original Citrus or school ID. And then you keep your passport locked in your suitcase in your room unless you're leaving the city of Kyoto overnight. You can also scan a copy of your passport and email it to yourself, and it's a good thing to have in case your passport is lost or stolen. Definitely neutral clothing. I mean, it's hard to be in Japan and not be noticed as a foreigner, right? They know you're not Japanese. So we say neutral clothing as far as, not being easily identifiable as a tourist makes you more of a target for petty thieves, crime, things like that. I think that we're in a highly polarized political situation, so not wearing provocative clothing such as, political statements, things like that is a good idea to avoid. Stay alert in crowds as far as pickpockets. From what I understand, Japan, that's not an issue. I still think you should be careful with your stuff, right? Put your stuff away, make sure it's don't leave your stuff all over. It's not good.
So you said you don't get taxed for if you have your passport, so if you have a photo of the passport and show them, or
I don't know. I think you need your actual passport, and you have to spend a minimum amount. I don't know if it's like $100 or something like that.
For tax-free?
For tax-free.
Yeah. Yeah, they give you paperwork. All right, use your common sense, right? Your moms are going to be really, really far away, so you have to look after yourself. this is what the main landing page for the STEP program looks like. It's really easy to do. AIFS would register you if we could. We cannot. It has to be done by the individuals. We do receive U.S. State Department advisories, so if anything were to happen while we're there, we would be advising our students. If you're out and about and your phone is in airplane mode, it's going to be really hard for us to locate you. Okay, so please keep your phone on. Keep us informed. We have this emergency phone. It is a Japanese phone, but always manned by local English-speaking staff. Okay, so from a U.S. phone, you would have to dial the 01181. And then the local number. You can share this number with parents. If you have an emergency, you can call local staff. We'd rather you not contact this for a question, but make it an emergency. We have office hours, staff hours, the reception areas for regular kinds of questions. All right? If you're lost or delayed on the way there, then this would be the number to call. Okay? No matter what time it is. Right? This is also in your itinerary and in your handbook, so you can get that. I'm going to keep going. And then just to finish up, and I'm way later than I wanted to be, sorry about that, but you have all signed the agreement and release form, which means that you have all committed to, you've all agreed to follow the rules of the program, the student conduct rules, right? So they are basically there to ensure student health and safety. One of the rules is that you are all of drinking age, right? So 18 is the drinking age in Japan? It's 20. Okay. So those of you under 20 will not be permitted to drink alcohol. If you're caught with alcohol, then you could be removed from the program. Those of you over 20 are committing to drinking alcohol in a healthy and safe manner. So if you are using alcohol to the point where it is putting your health and safety at risk, right? You're coming home violently ill. You are using alcohol when before an academic situation, before class, before an academic field trip. Those are against student conduct rules, all right? The consequences would depend on the issue, right? So it would depend on the severity of what happened. If you are given a written warning the first time, it comes back to Citrus, John, and your dean and your faculty will all, issue you a written warning and what the consequences are for that written warning. The second time, I would imagine it would have more severe consequences, but it would possibly, again, be a written warning. The third time, you would just be removed from the program. All right, so we take this seriously. We've had to remove students before. There are some issues that would demand immediate removal from the program, such as using illegal substances. And I made it clear that marijuana and CBD are illegal substances. They are not permitted. You cannot use them when you're in Japan. Any physical or verbal or sexual abuse will not be tolerated. They are actions that warrant immediate dismissal from the program toward other students, towards staff, toward guides, towards housing staff, people in the school. That will not be tolerated, and that would warrant immediate dismissal. Yes.
And also, Title IX as well, in regards to harassment, applies to these programs. So Title IX, our Title IX advisor is Brenda Fink, and you can find her on the Citrus College page and contact the dean, Dana Hester, or myself, or talk to your faculty if you're a victim of harassment. So the same rules basically apply that they apply to our facilities abroad that they do to Citrus College.
Right. It will go on your record, and you're looking to transfer. Things like that, things have consequences. There's footprints, there's social media footprints too. Be careful what you post. Someday you want a job and your employer's going to look at your Facebook or your Insta or your whatever. That's just a little side advice. Do know that I've been doing study abroad for 30 years. I've taken lots of groups abroad. And whenever there's issues, there's problems, alcohol is always a factor. So be careful about how much alcohol that you that you drink, right? It will lead to physical consequences, as you know, you'll get sick, as well as it could lead to some kind of issue of violence, or you could become a victim. So please be careful. All right, I'm done.
Okay.
I'm
all right,
sorry.
Thank you.